The Letter of Marque by Patrick O'Brien. Read by Robert Hardy. Ever since Jack Aubrey had been dismissed the service, it had seemed to him that everything was perfectly familiar, from the smell of sea-water and tarred rigging to the gentle heave of the deck under his feet. But the essence was gone, and he was a stranger. Other broken sea officers might be worse off. Indeed, two had come aboard without so much as a sea-chest between them, and compared with them he was uncommonly fortunate, which should perhaps have been a comfort to his mind. It was none to his heart, nor was the fact that he was innocent of the crime for which he had been sentenced. Yet there was no denying that materially he was well off. His old but beautiful frigate, the Surprise, had been sold out of the service, and Stephen Maturin had bought her as a private ship of war, a letter of marque, to cruise upon the enemy, and Jack Aubrey was in command. She was now lying at single anchor in Shelmerston, a port with an awkward bar and a dangerous tide race, avoided by the navy, but much frequented by smugglers and privateers, many of whose predatory vessels could be seen along the quay. Turning in his mechanical walk on the starboard side of the quarter-deck, Jack glanced at the village. 2 boats had put off for the Surprise. Neither, however, contained Dr. Maturin, the ship's surgeon. Few people knew that he was also her owner, who was to come aboard today. Now, in an indifferent tone, he said to Tom Pullings, "Take only 3 of the very best." He resumed his pensive walk, while Pullings, the boatswain, the gunner, and Bondon, his own coxswain, put the men through their paces. They had to lay aloft, loose and furl at a gallant sail, then traverse and point a great gun, fire a musket at a bottle hanging from the fore-yard arm, and tie a crowned double wall-knot before the eyes of a crowd of thorough-going seamen. Ordinarily, manning a king's ship was an anxious business, with the impress service often having little success. Here in Shelmerston the Surprise might have been fitting out in paradise. The hands needed no pressing at all. Jack Aubrey had long been known as a fighting captain who had been exceptionally fortunate in the article of prize money, and he could pick and choose among the privateersmen. Many of the foremast jacks and petty officers were old Surprises. Some of the men he did not know, but all were prime seamen, eager to serve under a captain they respected. And at this point Jack Aubrey was an even more respectable commander than he himself might have supposed. He was leaner than he had been, but he was still uncommonly tall and broad-shouldered. His open, cheerful face was now lined and habitually sombre, and anyone used to the abrupt ways of the sea could instantly tell that this was not a face to be trifled with. Dangerous because past caring. "These are the 3 best hands, sir, if you please," said Mr. Pullings, taking off his hat. "Harvey, Fisher, and Whittaker." They touched their foreheads, 3 cousins with much the same long-nosed, weather-beaten faces, and Aubrey said, "I'm glad to see you aboard, but you understand it's only on liking and on passing the surgeon, and you understand the terms of pay, shares, discipline, and punishment?" "We do indeed, sir, which the coxswain read them out to us." "Very well, you may bring your chests aboard." He resumed his steady to and fro, repeating Harvey, Fisher, Whittaker. It was a captain's duty to know his men, and hitherto he'd found little difficulty, even in a ship of the line with 700 aboard. He still knew every one of his Surprises, of course, but the new men escaped his memory most shamefully, and even his officers called for an effort. Not Tom Pullings, naturally, once one of Aubrey's midshipmen, and now a half-pay commander in the Royal Navy, who on indeterminate leave from the service was acting as his first mate. Nor the second and third mates, both of them former king's officers, whose courts-martial were clear in his mind. West for duelling, and Davidge for an unhappy, complex affair in which he'd signed a dishonest purser's books without looking at them. But he could remember his boatswain only by the association of his massive body with his name, Bulkley. So far there'd been no bad blood between the old Surprises and the new hands. He and Pullings had done their best by mixing the gun crews and the watches, but he had no doubt that by far the most important factor in this strangely peaceful relation between 2 dissimilar groups was the unparalleled situation. All those concerned, particularly the Surprises, seemed amazed by it.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?